What's up everyone, Eric Rossi, the guy with the eye here. I wanted to do a quick video about the Nikon Df, and yes, it is 2017, and I'm talking about this camera right here, but I wanted to talk about it real quick, give my thoughts on it, as it's my first real time using it through a couple of weddings and events, and just maybe bring up a point of it being refreshed for 2017 or 2018. Now, when this first came out in essentially 2013, 2014, it was a very controversial camera because this is a stills only camera. There's no video. A lot of people didn't like it. It looks very vintagey. There's, external buttons and knobs and everything. It's kind of really Fuji-like in how they're doing things now in 2017. It's just that people wanted something a bit smaller than what this turned out to be. The ergonomics weren't great, and the focusing system was of the D600, the D610, but this housed a D4 sensor, and it is a low light beast. So there were some cons to it. I say there's some cons to it, but there were a lot of perks with something like this, and using this in low light environments, hard to focus and everything like that. Being a D600 owner myself in the past, I am very used to a camera like this, and I just want to give you my thoughts on my review on it. So the other big problem with this was the price. This is a $2,800 camera, but once again, you're getting a flagship sensor in there, the D4 at the time, and this is amazing in low light. I think this stacks up there, especially with the D4, with the D700 and everything like that. I was shooting at 3200 ISO, 6400, and it is still pretty clean and good for what it is in regards to noise. And my only real gripe about this is the ergonomics of this are absolutely horrible. This grip right here is not that deep, and I've got very large hands. And there is no battery grip for this because of the way it is. Because the design flaw is that the SD card and the battery go in towards the bottom right here. This is the SD card, and this is the battery. The battery is also something different as well. It's not like a bigger ENL14 or 15 or something like that. It's just something like that. But I feel like you're buying this more or less for the style of it and what it can offer in regards to low light. It did take me like an hour or two to actually get used to shooting with this thing, but once I did, I was absolutely blown away by it. Once again, in regards to how the Fuji is today, a lot of the things they put on are external, and you don't have to stay external with something like this. One of the cool things, especially, is the shutter dial right here. You click in, you spin it and everything like that. And it kind of renders the shutter, this rear dial, worthless unless you put it on a 1/3 stop. I'll show that in a close-up. But once you put that on the blue 1/3 stop on the wheel, you have full access of it right back as you normally would. The other thing that you might not notice is that this front dial right here is actually the aperture dial, and it's very easy to use. But enough with everything like this. Does it need to have video? I guess it could, but for the person buying this camera, they don't. And for what I would use something like this, and I wish it was just a little bit lighter, is more or less like street photography and something on the go. I actually had this on the Nikon 70-200 as a second camera on my two camera strap, and I was just picking off shots left and right during the ceremony in both of my weddings. And for an event I was doing, because it's a lightweight body, but I'm so used to how this is. So in 2017, would I recommend buying the Nikon Df? If it was a little bit cheaper, 100% absolutely. But the one thing I'd say is that this could be a big refresh for a 2017 or 2018. I recently made a video, I don't know if it's out yet. If so, I'll pin it and post it down below, about a version 2 that would need to come out about this, and that covers more or less what I wanted to talk about. But I feel like this camera could be very successful, especially since the love for Fuji that's out there and the body-wise and everything like that. Nikon had a great thing, for the most part, that they could do. If they dropped the price on this and kind of made it a little bit smaller and the grip just a little bit better, I think this would sell like hotcakes to a lot of people because it has the newest sensor in it that can rock it in low light. I really enjoyed shooting with the Nikon Df, actually. A lot of the reviews out there, I did a lot of research. For the most part, they liked it. I know Kai, I think, absolutely disliked this camera back with Digital Rev and everything like that. But in 2017, I had a great shooting experience with this. I don't have a problem with the focusing of the D600, D610. Some people get a little spoiled. And it didn't need to have that, because if it had the D4 focusing, the D4 would be rendered useless for the most part, except the frames per second. I think this could use a refresh. And I absolutely enjoyed this camera. And I wanted to thank B&H Photo for sending it out. They did not sponsor or pay for this review in any way. All are of my own, but I think a DF2 would be pretty cool given a couple changes and the price point working out. Why I would buy something like this now if the Nikon DF2 came out is because of the size of it, which is the big complaint. A lot of people don't like DSLR cameras. And in a way, I compare it to the build of some of the Fuji cameras for the most part. X-T2, X-Pro 2, something like that. A little bit heavier, but the perk is you can use all your normal lenses on the system, on the Nikon system, and they don't necessarily need to be mirrorless for that point. Even though I would love to see a mirrorless camera, that's great, but the Nikon DF, for what it was, once again, it was a little too expensive. It had a lot of great options because it essentially had the guts of the Nikon D4. I would love a DF2. For $3,000, no. Maybe $2,400 or something like that. I think it would be a great option, if not $2,000. And it will drive people away that don't need this type of camera, that don't want, that want a video option. So I feel like it is a little more specialty, but you could find the DFUs right now for like $1,800, some around $1,500 at times. But once again, 16 megapixels, it's a couple of years old. A Nikon DF2, updated, faster, maybe 20 megapixels. 24 would be fine. I really don't like more than 24 megapixels, in all honesty, for what I do and everything. But that would be great for weddings as it's super light compared to a regular body or something like that. Even though this body argument and mirrorless cameras doesn't affect me much because I don't care about that. I can still use all my Nikon glass that I have with that DF, the DF2 that will come out. And it doesn't need to be this new thing without a new mount or anything like that. I just think it would be a good option. What do you think? Do you think a DF2 would be kind of stupid? Or with the way things are, how Sony's really kind of taken over the size of Fuji bodies, Sony bodies, and everything like that, does the DF seem a little more alluring at this point in 2017? Or does it seem pointless? A DF2, though, priced right, would be pretty damn cool. Especially if it mimicked a D5. Essentially, picture if it was a full-frame D500. Would you go nuts for something like that? Maybe minus the frames per second, but sub $3,000 camera instead of the Nikon D5. What if it has the guts of the Nikon D5S? That's the perk of a camera like this. Let me know your thoughts down below. Would you want Canon to make something that looks similar in stripped video? Because they're already not doing the great with video in 2017, except focusing wise. Focusing wise, it's great, just the 80D, but Nikon DF2, I'm intrigued.